Today I'm going to focus on the love, respect, and identity. These are the things that these street children dream about, like they want to have in their lives. And I grew up in Bangladesh. I've seen a lot of street children around me, but I've never encountered this close as before when I interviewed them. And knowing their dreams and aspirations really made me think, like, what can we do for them? If only love, respect are one of like the simplest things they dream about or desire, is that really hard to give them? So as you know, violence against women is kind of institutionalized in many parts in South Asia. Women are victims of violence in their homes, when supposed to be very safe environment, and also when they're outside at work. And regardless of their age, they are like abused by their husband, partners, or even bosses at the workplace. And this is also a very common problem in many underdeveloped countries. And as I want to connect this with the street children problem too, because these children come out from those environments and decide to be on the streets. And unfortunately, they again, encounter that abuse and exploitation on the street. And some of the causes I just mentioned, like poverty, family breakdown, neglect, social unrest, these are some of the problems which make them think to migrate to the streets. I just mentioned that even though they think that they will become better off when they move to the streets, unfortunately it's not the situation. It becomes even worse in some cases. According to 2005, which is a pretty outdated data, but however, there is not always easy to find current status of the street children, the numbers. Majority of these street children, especially the girls, are vulnerable to all sorts of abuses. If you think about that term, like gender-based violence or violence against women, you can also connect why the children, especially the girls, are so vulnerable when they're on the streets. And they are like raped, harassed, and even by the law enforcement agents who are supposed to, protect them as citizens. Some of the significance of the study, it will create knowledge and has implications for making difference in the lives of street children, and potential of providing awareness and understanding about the underserved, marginalized children. And as I just spoken earlier, that I even didn't know before talking to them how they suffer in that level. So that kind of made me aware of the situation too. So, and also creating programs to assist them for their need or for their future positive development. And we sometimes, being at the in the position of creating programs, we not necessarily think what they want for them. And after talking to them when they said the love and respect are some of the things that they want, I kind of think, do we also think about those phenomena, like those criteria when we develop programs? We only think about training them, giving them like life skills training to make them, be able to work, but do we think about these pieces at all, I wonder. Some research I've found shown that children with prior victimization tend to, are more likely to be re-victimized, and they sometimes choose the wrong person to be with on the streets, and as a result, they are again victimized and sexually harassed. One of the things that really attracted me doing this research was, even though they were always victims and raped or gang raped and all experiencing all sorts of violences on the streets. However, they have this strong sense of resilience. They have this power of survival. It's so remarkable, and I'm talking about the children that I have interviewed between the age of 13 and 14. They, in that harsh environment, it's really, really remarkable to see how they can survive and have that, inner strength of survival, embedded in their system. And in Bangladesh, there are various NGOs. Those who are from Bangladesh would know that are there to help them. for survival. So that resilience piece become even more stronger when they have institutional support. And the literature also has talked about that in previous researches. So for my study, I had 4 broad research questions. I actually wanted to find out why these female children come to the street, what are the challenges they face when they're on the street, and how do they cope, and the role of the NGOs too. So there were 4 broad research questions I explored. And it was a qualitative research, obviously, and because I say obviously because I wanted to learn their lived experiences and about their the stories that they had to share, which I think nothing but qualitative research would help me to understand that. And I'm sure Dr. Sarda will agree upon that because her research was also qualitative, I believe. And so I interviewed 21 street children from 3 different local NGOs. I had sat with them in like 60 minutes interviews, in-depth interviews, and some of the kids, that really, really like touched my heart. Some of the kids said that I was the first person sitting in front of them and wanting to know about their life. And that really, I just sometimes, it was hard to hold my tears because as a researcher, we are not supposed to show our emotions. However, it was very, very hard for me to, just to listen to them and try to understand. And at that time, I was thinking, what exactly can we do for their development? And these questions were obviously asked in Bangla and then back translated, and then these were the steps that I took, but was mainly in-depth interview only and one-on-one session. And I compiled all these information and then had themes, as in quality research we do. And these are some of the themes that I came up with. And I had, like the first theme was life before the streets, so I wanted to understand what they have experienced before coming to the streets. And these were the subheadings, like reasons for moving to the streets, feeling associated with moving, abuses by the father, stepfathers. So intimate partner violence that they saw, like their parents having, or their stepmother or stepfather abusing them, and also poverty. And there's this quote I wanted to share says that when I refused to do any household work, my father beat me on and on with a thick stick. My back skin ripped and bled. Then he tied me with a chain to a tree. I was screaming in pain. All of a sudden, my father came running with an axe towards me. So this happened during, like, when that child was 7 or 8 years old, that young, and that made the child to decide that he wanted to move, or she wanted to move to the street. So this is one of the quotes that I wanted to share. And so I just mentioned earlier that the study also says that when kids are experiencing violence at home, it is more likely that they experience that when they're on the street as well. So this is one of the other quotes that challenges on the streets. They said, and the bad thing, the kids on and on talked about the term bad things. Bad things what it meant was rape, sexual assaults. These were coded as like bad things to them. So one night, it says that one night a rickshaw van puller did bad things to me forcefully. 2 men on the streets found me in blood. They took me to the medical hospital. I had to get 4 stitches on my vaginal area. I was in the hospital for a while. After I came out, I decided to become a sex worker. So these sexual abuses and these violence experiences made these children at that age to decide to become a sex worker. And they feel that that was the only alternative for them for survival, because other people on the street who were around them kept on saying that you are rotten, you have no future, you just don't have anything left for you. So what other choices do they have but become a sex worker? And just to note you that these were the kids at the age of 13 and 14. And it's just that the age that they're supposed to be playing and have fun and do other stuff, but not think in this way, the way they were sharing. And So the coping and surviving. So once he told me if I didn't. So this was a kid who said that um, she chose to become a sex worker to be in a safe environment, and because if she had one client, that client would probably give her shelter and safety and all those stuff, and then she would not be harassed by other people on the street. So these are some of the quotes from that person, and in terms of coping and surviving, and then the role of NGO, which give them protection. So I just want to briefly go over this and go to the next piece, which they talked about the hopes and aspiration, which I found very interesting, like shelter, identity, employment, and respect and love. And we need a safe place to live. I hope my current situation will change. These are some of the aspirations and dreams they talked about. And again, I also want you to think of a 13-year girl talking to you about talking these as to be their dreams, as opposed to be playing on the streets or having fun. So what I found that shelter, identity, employment, respect, love, these were the common factors that they shared, and I kind of tried to connect that. So if they have shelter, they said that identity would come, and then if they have an identity, probably they would be able to get a job, and after having a job, they will have respect, love, and also vice versa. Like identity is the main thing, and then having those connected and having those two for their, they feel that these are some of the positive things that they want in their lives. And they said that the control and lack of trust was one of the criteria that was present before they came to the street, also when they were on the street. So they tend to suffer from insecurity, and they don't trust adults. And obvious reasons is that, you can see why they don't trust adults. And so with this, I just want to conclude and say that this study does have a potential to learn more about the street children phenomena, because, as I said earlier, I knew the term street children. I saw them everywhere around me, but I never got a chance to learn about them until I interviewed them. And of course, it has possibility in policy development and creating opportunities and interventions to address the needs of this marginalized population. So these are some of the children that I interviewed. All right, thank you.